Welcome to the Connection Revolution podcast. We're so glad you're with us today. We are glad to have back with us as guests for this podcast, Pastor Leo Cabrera and his daughter Gresia. We are so thankful for a great celebration we had at your church back on July 21, Celebration of the Nations event at your church. And it was an amazing time there. Today, this is part 3 in the series we've had with Pastor Cabrera and Gresia. I'm just going to start right in today and Pastor, ask you to focus a little bit on Kansas City. You know, you've had this big journey through Cuba, get to the U.S., God brings you to Kansas City. Tell us about this ministry that God has you doing in Kansas City.
Creo que todo lo que sucedió en el pasado fue una preparación en el camino de la fe para lo que Dios iba a hacer aquí.
I believe everything that happened to me in the past was a form of preparation for the ministry I'm doing here now.
Comenzamos en el 2000
We started in 2000, the year 2000.
y ya en el 2004 habíamos comprado el primer edificio.
And in 2004, we had bought the first building.
Recibía muchas cartas de prisión
Previously, I received a lot of letters from prisons.
y enviábamos el libro a diferentes prisiones.
So then we would send the book to different prisons.
Lo hicimos aquí, lo hemos hecho aquí en América y también en Europa.
We've done that here in the United States as well as Europe.
Pero ya en el 2022
But in 2022,
el Señor nos abrió puerta en la cárcel
the Lord has opened the doors to us to prisons here.
a través del ministerio Brother in Blue.
And this was done through the ministry of Brothers in Blue.
Aquí le llamo la atención al ministerio, a la iglesia donde estamos, de que no olvidemos a los presos. Y regularmente tenemos oraciones cada viernes en este lugar. Oramos por los prisioneros.
I always remind the church not to forget the prisoners, and we regularly have prayers going out to them, especially on Friday nights. We devote time of prayer for that, because this is the place where men can become vulnerable to the Spirit of God.
Y la palabra allí siempre cae en corazones que están sedientos.
And so the word always falls on the hearts that are already hungry.
Nate, tell us what's going on in your thinking. You've heard, of course, Pastor Cabrera talking about his experience in Cuba and being in prison for his faith, living out his faith there. And now he's talking about his church here and ministering to prisoners, even in this nation. So what are your thoughts about any of that?
I think it's probably one of those things where Pastor Leo couldn't have imagined what the long-term, implications of his journey, where it would lead in ministry to be able to use the testimony that he has now to touch people. Because when you're in something and you're in the suffering, you don't know where it's going. You don't know if this is the end of your, maybe it's, when he was in there, it was like, is he going to be in there forever to the end of his life? Is he going to die in there? There's all those questions that are in the place where you're at when you're in the suffering. And so it's the faith that allows you to keep going and see the things beyond what you could imagine that God has in store. Because all the things that he's doing now in ministry, that was in God's mind when he was going through his own prison, time. And so it's just important, I think, for us to always know that, our sight is limited up to a point, often to just our present circumstance, but trusting that God's sight is into, the rest of our lives in eternity. And it's why faith is so important, that we don't lean on what we understand or what we can see, but we lean on him in it takes us into things beyond, ourselves, beyond our own
Mhm.
imagination. So it's
Amen.
just an encouraging testimony.
Amen. To those of you listening and watching, thank you for being a part of this with us today. And encourage you to, if you haven't seen all 3 episodes that relate to this 3-part series, episode 20, 24, 25, I believe, please listen to all 3. You'll be so blessed and encouraged that you did. So thanks so much. Join us again next time as the Connection Revolution continues.